What's going on, everybody? It's Warren. Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder, where we talk all things Marvel and everything relating to the MCU. And of course, we are still talking about Spider-Man No Way Home. But today, we're actually going to take it a step further. And we're going to be talking about Spider-Man 4, the next installment of the Spider-Man franchise, and the possibility of Andrew Garfield returning and possibly picking back up where he left off with the Amazing Spider-Man franchise, finally giving us that Amazing Spider-Man 3 film. Now, there's a lot of rumors and reports flying around right now about this, some of them confirmed and some of them are just rumors for now, but don't worry, I'll break down everything that you need to know in this video. And big thank you to Bokksu for sponsoring this video and doing a giveaway, more on them in a bit. And also, I'm going to break down this video into two separate parts. The first part is going to be spoiler free for Spider-Man No Way Home, and the second part, and I will mention when I start the second part, will have spoilers for No Way Home. But for now, spoiler free, and of course, if you love Spider-Man and the MCU, be sure to subscribe so you can stay up to date on all things in the MCU. Okay, so first and foremost, let's talk about the confirmed report that Marvel Studios and Sony are in fact developing another Spider-Man film as we speak. In an interview with the New York Times, Kevin Feige and executive producer for Sony and president of Pascal Pictures, Amy Pascal, commented on what is next for Spider-Man, in which Kevin Feige, right next to Amy Pascal, said, "Amy and I and Disney and Sony are talking about, yes, we're actively beginning to develop where the story heads next." Which I only say outright because I don't want fans to go through any separation trauma like what happened after Far From Home. Now, if you're one of the few that doesn't remember what happened after Far From Home, it really was kind of traumatic. After Far From Home came out in the movie theaters, there immediately began to be talk about Spider-Man no longer being a part of the MCU. The talk was that Sony Pictures were going to take back Spider-Man because remember, Sony still owns all of the rights to Spider-Man. Marvel Studios and Sony simply worked out a deal for Spider-Man to be in the MCU and to share some of the profits, but Sony still owns those rights. But fortunately for us, it looks like Sony and Marvel Studios have realized that the best way to go about making Spider-Man movies is to keep him in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And this all started when Kevin Feige went to Amy Pascal when she was at Sony saying, you're gonna have to let us do it if you want Spider-Man to be successful, and we need to fully do it. And clearly, it's had massive success. Spider-Man and Captain America Civil War, Spider-Man Homecoming, Far From Home, and now No Way Home is blowing up. So the future is bright, and Kevin Feige confirms they are beginning to work on the next one. And of course, since Kevin Feige is saying that, it will take place in the MCU. And I'm sure if they didn't say this, a lot of rumors would be flying around about maybe Spider-Man's not going to be in the MCU, so I'm really glad he cleared this up. So, a new Spider-Man film, what could this possibly be about? Now, whether or not you've seen Spider-Man No Way Home, it doesn't really matter because you know that he's in his senior year. We know this from Far From Home and we know this from the trailers. So it's not a spoiler to say that this was his senior year in this movie. The next year is probably going to be in college, which is something we've never seen on screen before and which is something that I think would actually be pretty cool. Now, we could speculate all day on what could happen, but unfortunately I think some of that will be spoilers, so I'll talk about that in a bit, but not for the non-spoiler part. But let's talk about the possibility of Andrew Garfield returning and the possibility of him maybe finishing his Amazing Spider-Man trilogy with a Spider-Man 3. Now, these reports are coming from insiders who have really good track records. Last night, Daniel RPK tweeted, "I also hear Andrew might come back." Then the account My Time to Shine Hello says that Andrew Garfield could actually come back for multiple projects. Now, we know Sony is up to a lot with their own universe right now with Morbius and Venom. Kraven the Hunter, we're getting a Spider-Woman film from Olivia Wilde. They're gonna need their own Spider-Man because the story of Peter Parker in the MCU seems to be going a certain direction, which I don't think would go into the Sony universe. So perhaps this is where Andrew Garfield could come back, and the multiple projects they're talking about could be these projects like Kraven the Hunter, like Morbius. Now, we did see the painting of Spider-Man on the wall in the Morbius trailer that says murderer over it, and it didn't look like Tom Holland's Spider-Man, so maybe it could be Andrew's. Now, it actually looked like Tobey's, but perhaps that's misdirection. But the good news is Andrew Garfield might return to complete his Amazing Spider-Man trilogy and be in other films. And I do have, which I personally think is a really good theory, of what exactly Sony is going to do with Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man if he returns. Unfortunately, it involves some spoilers of some things that Doctor Strange did in Spider-Man No Way Home, so now I'm going to start with the spoilers. Spoiler warning, if you haven't seen No Way Home, you should click away now. And real quick, and big thank you to Bokksu for sponsoring this video. Bokksu is a premium Japanese snack box subscription service. They send you a new box each month packed with a bunch of awesome snacks, with some of the most amazing snacks you've ever had in your life. And every month, there's a brand new theme based off of a season, location, or holiday in Japan. And the snacks come from all over Japan, from Kumamoto to Aomori. And they all taste incredible, but in this new box, I think my favorites are the 20th century pear langue de chat, the Dondon Yaki, and the mini red bean crackers. Now, they're all labeled in Japanese completely. They are traditional snacks from Japan, but they give you a booklet that tells you exactly what everything is and what's in it. And get this, have you ever wanted to go to Japan? If you sign up with Bokksu before December 31st, you'll be entered in a giveaway for a chance to win 2 tickets to Japan. Sadly, this is only available to US residents, and there are some terms and conditions which I'll put in the description down below. So, want free tickets to Japan? Use my code CosmicWonder10 and link to become eligible to win the giveaway by subscribing to Bokksu. My code will get you 10% off your subscription. Don't miss out on this unique opportunity available for anyone who subscribes until December 31st. So since we now are in the portion where everybody has seen No Way Home, we can really get into this. I have to say Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man was one of my favorite parts of Spider-Man No Way Home. I think he did a fantastic job, and for those people out there who wanted redemption for Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, I think we got it. The emotion that he brought into this film was insane, and when he caught MJ, I cried. But here's my theory on how he could come back and be a part of the Sony Spider-Man universe, because I actually think that after this film, they're going to separate the universes a little bit more, especially after the first post-credit scene for Spider-Man No Way Home. So if you recall, in the post-credit scene, Venom went back to his universe, the Sony universe, but he left a part of the symbiote behind. Which means, and we can probably assume, that Peter Parker, Tom Holland's Peter Parker, is eventually going to get the Venom symbiote. This kind of makes Eddie Brock and his Venom irrelevant in the MCU. Unless they're planning on having a Venom vs. Venom fight eventually down the road. But that doesn't look to be the case. Again, like I stated before, it looks like Sony has their own plans with their own Spider-Man universe. The only problem is they don't really have a Spider-Man. Or do they? Was the plan this entire time to use Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man in their own universe? After all, Amy Pascal and Sony were going to make The Amazing Spider-Man 3 until Kevin Feige came along and said, Marvel Studios needs to do this. But here's my theory. I actually do think we're going to get a Venom versus Spider-Man. I just think that it's going to be with Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. During the Venom Let There Be Carnage press junket, Tom Hardy talked about how the next movie he wants it to be a Venom versus Spider-Man film. We know Morbius exists in the same universe as Venom, and we saw the Oscorp building from the Amazing Spider-Man universe, from Andrew Garfield's universe. And Morbius does reference Venom, so we know for sure they are in the same universes. In the Morbius trailer, we see a picture of Spider-Man that is not Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and now Eddie and Venom know about Spider-Man. In the post-credit, he actually mentioned going to New York to find Spider-Man. And although Eddie was only in the MCU for, maybe a day, he did learn a lot. He learned about the Avengers and he learned about Spider-Man, so it is possible that when he's back in his universe, he goes to New York and he seeks out Spider-Man. But whose Spider-Man would this be? It would be Andrew Garfield's, considering all the evidence that we have so far. The same exact Amazing Spider-Man Oscorp logo, the picture of Spider-Man on the wall that isn't Tom Holland's, Tom Hardy talking about the next Venom film being a Venom vs. Spider-Man film, even though he knew he would be in the MCU for only a moment, then be back in his own universe. And now today, the reports from very credible insiders stating that Andrew Garfield could be returning for multiple projects. And I think those multiple projects could exist in the Sony Spider-Man universe. I firmly think that this is the plan if Andrew Garfield is coming back. Obviously, he was in Spider-Man No Way Home, and I think many people really loved him in this film. For me, he was one of my favorite parts. I absolutely loved seeing him, and of course, Tobey Maguire on screen with Tom Holland. Now, there is rumors that Tobey could return as well, but he is a little bit older, so that is a little bit less likely. But we know that Andrew Garfield loved playing Spider-Man, and I think after No Way Home, a lot of people are going to really want to see him return. But people, of course, love Tom Holland as Spider-Man as well, and he has a whole whole story ahead of him. So I think they're going to split the universes. I really think they're going to just have Tom Holland be in the MCU and now Andrew Garfield be in the Sony universe. That's my theory on how I think it's all going to happen, but let me know what you think in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe, and of course don't forget to like the video, and for live updates you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.